Have you ever had one of those days where everything goes wrong? You lose your job? You get bad news? You feel alone? And you wonder, why is this happening to me? Well, thousands of years ago, there was a man named Job who faced more pain, more loss, and more confusion than most of us could ever imagine. And yet, he never gave up. He didn't stop believing. Here on EchoTeller TV, we bring you the powerful, timeless story of a man who stood firm in the storm. Job lived in a land called Uz, a place far from the busy cities, filled with open skies and green pastures. He was a man of great wealth. But more than gold or animals, Job was rich in faith. The Bible says Job was blameless and upright. He respected God and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, thousands of animals, many servants, and a heart full of gratitude. He woke up each morning and prayed for his children, just in case they had done something wrong. He wanted to protect them, not just with walls or guards, but with prayer. To his neighbors, Job seemed like the perfect man living a perfect life. But in the spiritual world, something was about to change. One day, the angels came before God. And among them was Satan, the one who had rebelled and fallen. God asked him, "Have you seen my servant Job? There's no one on earth like him." But Satan sneered. "Of course Job loves you. You've given him everything, wealth, family, health. Take it away, and he'll curse you to your face." God allowed a test. Not to destroy Job, but to show the world what true faith looks like. One by one, Job's world fell apart. A servant ran in. "Raiders stole your oxen and donkeys." Another shouted, "Fire from the sky burned your sheep." Another cried, "Enemies took your camels." And then the worst. A storm came and destroyed the house where his children were feasting. In one day, he lost it all. His wealth, his livelihood, his children. But Job didn't curse God. He tore his robe, shaved his head, and said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." But Satan wasn't done. He said, "A man will give everything to save his life. Let me touch his body, and he'll turn against you." God agreed, but Job's life must be spared. So Job was struck with painful boils from head to toe. He sat on the ashes like trash, scraping himself, alone in his misery. Even his wife, hurt and angry, said, "Curse God and die." But Job replied, "Shall we accept only good from God, and not trouble?" Far away, 3 of Job's closest friends heard the news. They heard about the disaster, the loss, the unthinkable pain. And they came. Not to fix it. Not to offer answers. Just to be with him. For 7 days and 7 nights, they sat in silence. No one spoke a word. Because what can you say when suffering is this deep? It was a sacred moment. A gesture of true friendship. Until they opened their mouths. At first, they tried to make sense of the suffering. But their words quickly turned sharp and accusing. "Eliphaz, you must have sinned, Job. The innocent don't suffer like this. Bildad, if your children died, maybe they brought it upon themselves. Zophar, God is just. So if you're suffering, it must be your fault." They thought they were defending God. But instead, they were wounding their friend. Job listened. He wrestled. He wept. But he didn't give in. "I have done nothing wrong. I don't understand, but I will not curse God." This wasn't just a conversation. It was a courtroom of the soul. Job was on trial, not by God, but by his own friends. And in the middle of their accusations, Job did something powerful. He turned to God, not away from him. He asked questions. He poured out his pain. He begged for answers. But he never stopped believing that somewhere, somehow, God was still listening. This act highlights a universal truth. Even well-meaning people can hurt us when they try to explain what only God understands. The silence of the friends was golden. But their words, driven by theology without compassion, became salt in an open wound. And yet, Job's faith endured. Not because he understood everything, but because he held on to the hope that God understood him. Job's story is a window into one of life's biggest questions. Why do good people suffer? Sometimes we think if we do everything right, we'll live a perfect life. But Job shows us that faith is not about what we get, it's about who we trust. Job was honest with God. He asked hard questions. He begged for answers. But he never cursed God. He never gave up hope. Elihu, a younger man, reminded everyone, God is greater than we can understand. Sometimes suffering teaches, strengthens, and purifies us. Job had spoken his heart. He had cried. He had questioned. And now, God responds. But not with a gentle whisper. Not with a list of reasons. God speaks out of the whirlwind, a mighty, roaring storm. Who is this who darkens counsel with words without knowledge? Prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. And then, God begins to ask Job a series of breathtaking questions. Not to shame him, but to remind him of just how great and wise the Creator truly is. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who stretched a measuring line across it? Who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together? God isn't being cruel. He's not ignoring Job's pain. He's lifting Job's eyes from the ashes of suffering to the glory of creation. Have you commanded the morning since your days began? Can you loosen the cords of Orion? Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you give the horse its strength? Every question is like a divine lightning bolt, showing Job that God's knowledge is infinite. His power is boundless. His design is flawless. God is saying, Job, I see what you don't see. I know what you can't know. I am not silent, I am sovereign. Job softly said, I spoke of things I did not understand. Things too wonderful for me to know. I had heard of you with my ears. But now, I see you with my eyes. And that's the heart of this moment. God never gave Job the why. But he gave Job something greater, the who. In the middle of chaos, Job met the Creator. In the middle of mystery, Job found majesty. Sometimes we look for answers. But what we really need is to see God for who He is. Because when we know who holds the world, we can trust Him with our little piece of it. In the end, Job humbled himself and said, I had heard of you before, but now I see you with my own eyes. God restored everything Job had lost. Double his wealth. 10 more children. Long life. And deep peace. But more than what Job got back, he gained a stronger faith. The story of Job isn't just about pain. It's about trust in the middle of pain. Sometimes life will bring storms. But faith isn't proven in the sunshine. It's proven in the rain. When everything is taken. When the answers don't come. When the silence is heavy. Can we still say, Blessed be the name of the Lord? That's what Job did. And that's what makes his story timeless. Thank you for watching the Story of Job animated Bible movie on Ecotella TV. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We bring Bible stories to life with animation, heart, and hope. Share this with someone going through a tough time. Because like Job, their story isn't over.